Hello, people. I'm here with a person that I met, and I thought that he was amazing. His name is Stephen Greene, and I would like to welcome him to this channel.
Hello, I'm John, Rod's friend. Please subscribe to his channel, Rod the Brazilian English Teacher on YouTube right now for a lot of free content. As he says, thank you, see you.
Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
He has a podcast which I really like to listen to, English with Stephen. Could you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. Well, the idea started a couple of years ago because I love listening to podcasts and I thought it was a great thing to just as a hobby. I spoke to a few students, my advanced students, to get them to start listening to podcasts, and they loved it and they seemed to learn a lot. And it was great for extensive listening. This is not listening in the classroom, but listening for a long time outside the classroom. And so I thought, wow, this is really useful. So I decided to start my own podcast, more for intermediate and upper intermediate level students. And I talk about learning strategies. That's what good learners do to learn a language. I talk about words and stories about words, so where they came from, how they've changed over time. And I talk about the history of English. Why is English the way it is? It's with all its peculiarities and its strange things. Each episode is 10 minutes, which I think is perfect for students to be able to pay attention to something. But if it's much longer than 10 minutes, it's difficult to have that focus. And there's also a transcript that people can read and listen to at the same time. Maybe if they listen once and they don't understand everything, they can go and read a specific word or a specific phrase. So all of this is for my students, anybody to listen to.
Well, it's really amazing. You should go check it out. I would like to know, what is your opinion about non-native teachers of English, like me, for example?
There's this idea that the best teachers are native speaker teachers. So the argument is that somebody from Britain or the United States or Australia is going to be the best teacher. People like yourself who are non-native speakers will be not as good. This is something that I totally reject. Nowadays, I've been teaching for over 25 years. I think I'm a good teacher. I've got lots of experience. I've got lots of training. I've also learned Portuguese. This means that I know what my Brazilian students need and I know how to teach them. But I'm sure, Rodrigo, it's the same for you. You've been teaching for a long time. You know how to teach.
Years.
Exactly. It's the same thing. You know about the struggle to learn English. You've gone through that. And so you will be an excellent teacher. You know how to teach. Your English is fantastic. I remember when I started teaching, my first job was teaching in Poland. My visa said I was an English expert. Absolute nonsense. I had no idea what I was doing. I look back on the classes I gave in my first 2 or 3 years that were terrible classes. But because I was an English person, I was earning more money than local Polish teachers who had 20, 30, 40 years experience, spoke Polish, spoke English very well, and knew how to teach. Just because you know a language doesn't mean you can teach that language.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
I agree with you, and thank you for the compliment. I'm not good with compliments myself. I told you before, I think it was off camera, I love your language. I have gone through all the process that every student of a second language or a foreign language, as it is English in Brazil. So I know all the hard parts. So I think that it is very important to encourage them, to help them. I make mistakes in Brazilian Portuguese every day. I cut plurals. You understand absolutely what I say because your wife is Brazilian. Your children are Brazilian as well. Half English, half Brazilian. I'm trying to teach something that we call Dogmate teaching. It's only a blank screen in a Word document. And then, what do you want to learn today? Of course, they have passed the intermediate plateau. What do you think of this?
In theory, it's brilliant. In practice, it can sometimes fail because the students are not prepared for it. A lot of students, when they go to class, they think, right, I'm here, you are the teacher, you teach me. So a lot of the time we would need to prepare our students for this, guide them to explain and show, and perhaps do it slowly over time. Once we've trained them how to learn in this way, I think it's a brilliant thing to do. We do have this potential drawback at the beginning. I think it involves the student in the learning process. And whenever students are involved, and it's not just English, it's anything. If you're trying to learn how to drive a car, involving that person in the decision-making process of what to learn, how to learn, you are almost always going to have better results.
I agree with you because I only use this with my intermediate students, and it's getting better and better. I can see that they progress, that they achieve what they want. Every teacher that I know, mostly on Zdenek's Discord server, they are very nice, very lovely. You are an awesome person as well. We talked a lot because you live in Brazil. You are English as well. I have some English friends. Learning English from every perspective is a lifelong journey.
Oh, yes, there's always new words coming up in any language. Some people say there's over 1 million words in English. No human brain can possibly know 1 million words. It's maybe passively we can understand them by guessing what they mean, but to actually productively use them, no human brain can do this. So we never fully learn our first language. I think sometimes that people will get to a stage where for their purposes, they have enough English that they don't need to study and actively learn more. Now, there will be a possibility that they will forget language if they don't use it. But so long as they're using English on a regular basis, then perhaps they don't need to study anymore for their purposes. But then it just depends on what their purposes are. For someone like yourself, who is a teacher, you always want to improve. You always want to get better. So you will always have to study. Now, that may not be studying, right, we're going to sit down and open some grammar books. No, it might be analyzing the way somebody speaks in a film. It might be looking for different varieties of English. There's many ways of studying, not the traditional formal ways. Basically, yes, there's always something new to learn. I totally agree with that.
I agree with you as well because I tell my students the theory of the pianist. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't. Tell me.
I tell them, like, do you want to be a pianist or do you want to play the piano? Because if you want to play the piano, you learn the music, you learn the score, you learn the notes, and you play it.
Okay.
But when you want to be a pianist, as ourselves, like teachers, you need to learn the tenses, conjugations, the phrasal verbs, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You choose to be a piano player or a pianist.
Okay, I like that. Something that you're referring to there, I think, is about your objectives and to know why you're studying English, to know what you want to do with English. And okay, those objectives can change over time, but to be very clear about, at the moment, this is why I'm studying English and this is what I want to do. And that helps to motivate learners. It helps to give us a goal. It helps the teacher because I know what I need to do for my students.
When we learn a second language, we become more open to the world, if you know what I mean. Once I was asked during my master's degree what was a tree for me. A tree was, and I described the tree. And the teacher told me, okay, it's right the way you said, but do you know that every culture understands a tree in a different way? And when he said it, that's true. You as an Englishman understand tree in a way. Brazilians understand tree in another way. So culture sometimes trumps language.
Totally. Yes.
Walk alongside with the language. It's amazing when the teacher told me that. Do you agree that culture is a great part of language teaching as well?
I know you don't have to teach culture. You don't have to, because then the other problem we've got is which culture are we talking about? We've got British culture, we've got Irish culture, American culture, we've got Singaporean culture. We can have a culture where maybe we're using English. Yeah, we could have a different culture. We could have a world culture where a Brazilian is talking to a Japanese person. What culture do we teach then? For me, I find it very interesting to talk about cultural stories, not necessarily British ones. I try to find other ways of thinking about things that come from different cultures around the world. I don't want to be culture blind. I think culture definitely influences the language. And then language, there's a feedback loop, so that language will then influence the culture. And I think anybody who wants to use language proficiently will need to be aware of different cultures. Totally.
I agree with you because when I started my master's degree dissertation on accent reduction, it was really difficult because I needed to draw the vocal tract of a Brazilian person and show how to make the sounds, the THs, all the hard sounds. It was an amazing discovery for me because I needed to find the right placement of the tongue, where to blow your teeth, in the ridge of the teeth.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Language for me is a big puzzle that we have to figure out during a lifetime. When I was listening to your podcast last week that you told the story, the difference between the pen and the pencil in Portuguese.
I think something to realize is that every language, every natural language is full of illogicalities. It's full of contradictions. You may think your language does not have that, but that's only because you've grown up with that. That is natural for you. As soon as you start learning another language, you can hopefully start to say, hang on a minute, my language is a bit crazy as well.
I like when you say pen group B and pencil group A, and for me that's okay.
You don't need to worry about why is it masculine? Why? No, it's not. It's just group A.
Yeah, just learn.
Sometimes the names are very important. In that podcast, I was using that example to say, look, we've got a name, masculine and feminine. And that caused me so many problems for ages. Change the point of view. Call it category A, category B, and then you're no longer got this problem. Why is a pen masculine or feminine? I don't know. So names are very important, I think.
My students go crazy when I tell them on vacation and I live on a farm.
Right.
They ask me, can I try to learn it myself by heart? I say, it's up to you. Do you think that using Portuguese to optimize time during class is good, bad, somewhat bad, or somewhat good?
So when I started teaching, there was this idea, you walked into the classroom and it was English only. You had to leave your first language outside the room. This was because I couldn't speak Polish. I was in Poland and I couldn't speak Polish. And so there's a lot of native speakerism where if we're going to value the native speaker and the native speaker cannot speak the same language as the student, then we have to only use English. And this has to be a positive thing. Again, I totally reject this idea. I know that from learning Portuguese, there's been times where I'm looking at something and I don't understand it. And I've asked my wife or a friend in English, why does Portuguese do this? And they explain to me in English. It's like, okay, great. Now, if I was to try to have that conversation in Portuguese, it'd be a lot more difficult. It wouldn't be as specific and I wouldn't get an answer that I need. Most definitely, there are times when we need to use our first language. The trick is to use the first language in the right place at the right time. Occasionally throw in the odd word, the odd phrase. There's nothing wrong with that. I remember when I first came to Brazil, I was trying to teach the present continuous tense. I am playing, he is sitting. And we did about 3 weeks on the present continuous tense. This was to a pre-intermediate class. After 3 weeks, the student said, so basically, teacher, it's the same as Portuguese. I didn't speak Portuguese at that time. If I had now, if I have to teach the present continuous, I say, okay, this is how it works in English. It's almost the same as it works in Portuguese. 5 minutes, we've done the present continuous tense.
That's what I say. Like, we can optimize time and enjoy some more conversation and other things. It's better than I thought it would be. This conversation is amazing, but now we have to play a little bit. Before we finish, we're gonna play the rapid round game. Living in Brazil is...
Hello, I'm John, Rod's friend. Please subscribe to his channel, Rod the Brazilian English Teacher, on YouTube right now for a lot of free content. As he says, thank you, see you.
An adventure.
Something that I miss from my country is...
certain types of food. The food I had when I was a kid.
Something that I learned with Brazilians that I will never forget.
To hug everybody when you go into a bar.
The most beautiful Brazilian Portuguese word.
Abraço, to hug.
And the last one from me, my family is.
All over the world.
Awesome. Now you can ask me questions, but I don't want you to go easy.
My town is.
Very small.
Okay. Is that a problem for you?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Most of the times.
Okay. If I could change one thing about my life,
not to be a nitpicker.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm a nitpicker supreme.
I see. Okay. My best quality is.
Being a true friend for my friends.
That's a good one. I like that. That's very important.
Yes.
One thing I wish I'd said to my grandparents.
I wish I could have said a proper goodbye to my grandmother.
Okay.
Who helped me a lot during my life.
The last one. Once this pandemic is completely over, what are you going to do?
I am dying to travel. Even if it's 10 kilometers away, I'll be there. Now to finish, I met you not a long time ago, but I think we clicked from the very beginning because you already have the Brazilian spirit. Your podcast is amazing. Keep doing it. And I have to thank our friends Danik once again for giving me the chance of meeting people like you. It was a pleasure to have you on the channel. Whatever you need me for, I'm here.
The pleasure's all mine. I'm sorry it was so quick.
We can do a part 2.
I'm looking forward
another
to it
time.
already.
So people, I hope you liked it. This was Stephen Greene. It was a pleasure to have you here. E bem-vindo ao Brasil, sempre.
Obrigado.